Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. This is for Tuesday. It's June 11th, 2024. So, starting with the markets kind of in a hold pattern right now, let's go right into our risk indicators. Still hovering in high territory around 290, just above. We've got the fear greed index moving into that neutral, heading towards the greed area because we had a lot of buying going on in the stock market yesterday. So this is mostly on a couple of singular stocks. It's not a broad buying necessarily. So, namely Apple yesterday, as well as a couple of others. We've got Nvidia completed their stock split. So, with this, everyone's feeling a bit more rich because now instead of one share, they've got 10. So, splitting basically, if it was $1,000, now they've got about 10 shares worth $100 a piece, but that psychologically hits. And most of trading or stocks is psychological, probably in my estimate about 85 to 90%. So when you hit that psychology, it really creates a rift. So I'd like to say something about that with the fear greed index is that once it starts ticking below, we're at 47 right now, but if it hits 45 and goes below that fear um, meter, basically on that side, what happens is it's going to become exponential because when you hit on that emotion of fear, there's rapid selling. You could see the same thing. Take, for instance, the recent happenings with GameStop. So once it started coming back down, that hype dropped, everyone kind of panicked, sold, and it retreated back down to the bottom. So that's a good overall historically what happens. So just want to give a warning about that. Right now, we're watching the 10-year yield and the relative strength of the dollar stayed relatively steady yesterday. The markets were green a bit, but today we're telling a different story. So on the opening, still look green. However, we're watching the real indicators behind it. Gold and oil, both under pressure, as well as cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies tend to be a leader. So we've got Bitcoin dropped now below the 67,000 mark. Ethereum also hitting a bit of pressure. We've got Ripple in the news bit. I'll talk about that a little later. But basically, what these are showing is that there's less of a tendency to put money in other places. So it is a knee jerk reaction, fear. The VIX is up, which is a volatility indicator of driving people back into the dollar. Now, even knowing the dollar is weak, people are going back into it. And we've got the futures in the red right now, so showing a bit of weakness. Basically, what are we waiting on? CPI numbers, core inflation come out tomorrow morning prior to the market open, and then we're getting the Federal Reserve. They're starting their meeting today, but tomorrow afternoon they will be announcing basically their decisions and whether they will do rate cuts or give clues. So the question really at this point in time, rate cuts have really dropped a lot of, so to speak, their teeth in the matter. Do they matter anymore? Not as much as they used to. And I'll talk more about that argument of why in a bit. So we've got bond yields we are watching. Why? Because we've got another bond auction. And if we don't have buyers of the debt, with these treasuries selling, the yields have to go up. So regardless of whether the Federal Reserve cuts, if no one is buying the debt other than the Federal Reserve has to buy back their own debt, that will make the yields go up and still have that effect of higher rates, whether they cut or not. So we had a lot of movement between the European markets, and this is on this whole thing with Macron, the elections, right before the Olympics, which are going to be in Paris. And this recovery that they're seeing from this is not solid. So the market basically doesn't like all of this instability in the politics. So our calendar and earnings, we are looking today, not a lot as well. We're watching the 10-year auction. It's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. In my mind, that's the most important event for today. And the stock market's basically going to be, for the most part, in a holding pattern for the inflation numbers coming prior to market open, and then, of course, the Federal Reserve in the afternoon. So we've got, as we were saying, the whole French yield premium for their bonds, like going along with Germany also having issues with this. So going into a few other things that are going on. So we're watching oil flat as investors waiting for this federal meeting, the CPI data. So it's a little bit more than that. They're also looking at weak demand coming into it. So we're watching oil numbers a bit weak at the moment. Oil, gold, all going down this knee-jerk reaction back into the dollar. So when the dollar gets strong, then prices tend to come down with inflation. You get a weak dollar, inflation goes up. That's a general explanation of what's going on. So in the real economy, again, we always talk about what's actually going on. We've got credit card borrowers. They're floating out these stories, and again, this is a lot of propaganda showing greater strength as new data indicates. What are they talking about? They are talking about credit card borrowers are stronger because they're less late on their payments. So borrowers still defaulting on their payments, still not making them, still increasing on their debt, but not as badly as they were last month. So they're taking this as a positive sign. Be careful of your news headlines. It's things like that, really deceptive. So we've also got the housing market. Want to bring that up because this story is talking about the pivotal spring selling season coming to an end, not with a bang, but with a whimper. It's much more elevated than that. The reason is home selling for the basically it's a seasonal thing. We're in spring, which is high season typically for home sellers. And with this residential market being very weak with the sales, it's very troubling because this is going to ripple out very rapidly, goes into the construction sector. We're watching the job sector. Those numbers were skewed, and it will have a very definite effect. So lagging, we won't see the effects of it for another month or two, but it's coming. We had also, along with this they're saying this Las Vegas landlord shocked by the number of people eager to rent his tiny home, and it's because they cannot afford rents in larger places. So everybody's sizing down. Also in their shopping, we're watching it there as well. We've got PIMCO warning of more U.S. Regional bank failures on property pains. This is still weakness in the commercial sector. Commercial loans coming due. And a lot of the, for the residential sector, again, adjustable rate mortgages for everyone that purchased during, basically coming due, that purchased during the pandemic, if I can say that word, hopefully. So the 5 to 7 years, we're watching that come out now. Okay. Cryptocurrencies and also artificial intelligence. We've got a few stories here. We've got Bitcoin, as I was talking about, and cryptocurrencies in general. They're dropping in prices, also watching this inflation data. So I'm a bit excited about this because this is another buying opportunity, I think, chance to trade in your dollars for something that will have value later, as well as precious metals also getting hit right now. So this is not a surprise. It could come down more. But basically what's going on is this great balance, everybody knee-jerking into the dollar. And I've been speaking about keeping that on hand for buying opportunities. I believe that's what is coming in. So we've got Deutsche Bank tying up Bitpanda in a cautious crypto shift. Basically, they are looking at doing more cryptocurrencies. Ripple with National Bank of Georgia. So again, this is not Georgia, the state in the United States. This is the European nation. So they are embracing cryptocurrencies, digitals, central bank digital cryptocurrencies, and they are looking to Ripple. It's kind of a good thing, kind of not. We're looking at OpenAI, looking at bringing in Nextdoor and Square for their CFO. They are looking at basically bringing in payments. They're going to encompass everything. There's a large battle going on in the background OpenAI is basically hand in hand with Microsoft. The only reason they are not owned is because they would be facing major antitrust lawsuits. So by keeping them as kind of pseudo separated companies, they're skirting this basically. Okay, we want to get into conflict a little bit because we've got a lot of large things going on in the stage, and there's a lot of misinformation, and they're also pummeling you with this news. So I just want to clear a few things up. We've got Israeli political analysts. They're talking about Blinken speaking ceasefire in the Middle East with Hamas. So in general, it's not going to affect things a lot other than a temporary drop in the price of oil. This is going to continue. We're going to continue to have war. Why do I say this? This story right here, Ukraine is a gold mine. And this is from Lindsey Graham saying this. So he's speaking out what is actually going on beyond this. And Ukrainian officials stealing $490 million meant for the military. Anybody that is shocked by the basically the corruption going on there just doesn't realize what's been going on there much longer before this ever broke out. So, a couple of other things. First, Russia and the USA, several Russian warships just arrived in Havana. We knew about this. They've also got nuclear submarines going on down there. And they're talking about a Cuban Missile Crisis. Don't panic on this. This has been kind of in the works for some time. They did come out with kind of a cool weapon, basically calling it Dragonfire, new naval laser weapon. So it's spreading to the UK. They've got it's a DEW, another directed energy weapon. Another just coming out admitting that they've all got these. But the reason I'm bringing this up, theirs in particular, pairing it along with the United States one with an electromagnetic pulse. So if they set these off near the coast, it's going to affect all of your electronic devices. So I'd spoken about a Faraday cloth before that you can protect your electronics, your sensitive electronics, and there's multiple ways to do this. If you want to get more information, just leave a comment. I forgot to grab the links on this, but I can put them in before. And we're also going to have a Discord discussion on a few things tomorrow after the live, probably about 5 o'clock. So if you'd like to join that, I'll speak about that tomorrow. Leave the link in the description, so you're welcome to join us on that as well. And I want to bring up this other thing. We've got more volcanic activity. I'm taking a lot of heat, literally, from people calling me silly about this. It is in an uptick, and the numbers do support that. But I'm bringing up this major fault line off the west coast. There's also a couple of others on the east coast, and these are targeted because it's a lot easier to hit areas that are weak than the areas that are strong, of course. But I'm kind of glazing over this, but that's the basically the summation, if you would. So with this, I wish you all a great trading day, wonderful day in general. If you have any questions, want to hear anything more about this, I do read the comments. Please leave that for me. Thank you all kindly for being here. And until I see you again, my friends, of course, stay free.